Hey, welcome back to another episode of Seven Figure Music School. In this episode, we are joined by a guest, Brady, and we're doing another 5 for 5 episode where we're interviewing a school owner just to get an insight into a really well-run school so that we can all take something away, learn from it, and perhaps implement in our own school so we can all have better careers. We are a small industry, but within this industry, I think it's fair to say that if we were to collaborate more, we'd probably all have a little bit of a better time of doing the job that we have. So I'm not going to take any more time introducing. Brady, just introduce yourself to everyone. And I'd like to hear name, rank, serial number, background, where's your school, all that good stuff.
Okay. Social Security.
Right.
No,
hey,
I probably won't do that over live here. Yeah, mine's Brady Davies. I'm the owner and CEO of the piano place. Our story's kind of funny. I'll start off, right out of the gate here. I am not a musician. I'm one of the kids who quit after 2 months, did other things, but probably it is the greatest decision of my entire life is I married a musician. And so my wife actually started our company 7 years ago, and we rented our first space after we got sick of having, 80 kids in our living room always, coming through every day. So we decided to rent a space, and, my background was more in commercial real estate. And as things progressed and we started opening more and more locations, I felt myself getting sucked more and more into this business. And it's been one of the most rewarding and challenging things that I've ever done in my life, but we absolutely love it. We're obsessed. So.
That's a great introduction. Yeah. And how many locations do you have right now?
Yeah. So we're currently at 8 locations. Probably by the time this airs, we'll be at 11 actually. So we have some more coming up this month. So.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump into the first question. Go ahead and answer that, Brady. Then Nate will jump into the second, and he and I will alternate, and then we'll be done for today. So question number 1. What are you most proud of? Something that you feel that you do really, really well at your schools?
Yeah. I took some time thinking about this question, but the thing that just continually came back to me was I'm just so proud of our staff. I think we have an amazing team, and I can't tout that enough. When we first started, I'm sure every music school kind of starts this way when you finally get to the point where you're looking to hire employees and teachers. And I just remember we were kind of just going to some of our friends, and they were awesome. And even from the beginning, I just felt like we had such an amazing staff that helped kind of set the foundation and set a great example for, what our expectations were as a company, what type of teachers we were looking for. And that's just kind of progressed and gotten better year over year here. So, we started out, I think our first, batch of employees, we probably had 3 or 4. We're now at 180, and it's just been so much fun to work with these people. I think it's always been cool to we've taken employees who kind of maybe don't know about us, might not know a ton about our company, but what we've primarily looked for is like, okay, are you passionate about teaching? Do you really care about teaching? And I think by doing that and finding those right people, and we've developed all these training processes and all these things around them. It's just been so cool to see, how they kind of tailor their lessons and everything that they do to our customer experience. And to us, employees are everything. And it's been awesome.
So when you are thinking about what you do well, could you maybe dig in a little bit deeper on that? Is what you're doing well picking talent? Is what you're doing well developing talent? Like, what is the thing that you're actually doing well? Because you said the staff is great, but what are you doing well? Like, how? Yeah. Why are they?
Yeah, I think we've done an awesome job at developing teachers. So it's we've had experience. Obviously, we've had amazing teachers. We've had some bad eggs too that have come through. And it's been funny to see, I think of one example, we've had teachers that with, doctorate degrees that have come to us, but when it's come to teaching, they know everything, right, about teaching.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, sometimes the experience for our students and our families wasn't that great with that teacher. I have other teachers though. I had one of our best teachers right now, actually. She's an elementary ed undergrad. So I did music lessons, competitively her whole life. She's amazing, absolutely amazing, and it's really, I think what we've been able to do, and sorry to go back to our development side, is I think we're able to take people who have amazing personalities, passion for music, have that background, and give them the tools and the things and the training needed to really succeed and blow people's minds with their lessons. So
okay, question number 2 for you, Brady. What's one challenge you're experiencing right now in your business? Just one challenge, top of mind.
Yeah, the one that's been top of mind here lately, especially as we battle, for us, and I think most music schools too, it's not necessarily our competitors aren't these other music schools. Sometimes it's baseball, it's soccer, it's these other things that pop up in the spring, and the majority of our schools are here in Utah, and when the snow starts to melt, that's our enemy. And so, right now for us, that battle is, okay, how do we're always fighting against it here in the springtime of, how do we better utilize and, our current marketing channels? What do we look at? How do we get, more and more students in the door during this, more difficult time? And I think what's unique this year for us is as we've grown and have more locations, especially here, and we're, primarily based out of Salt Lake, we're kind of more of a regional company now than we used to be, where we'd have, 3 studios 45 minutes apart from each other throughout the state. So kind of figuring out how do we kind of transition or bring in kind of that regional play into our marketing efforts. And that for us has been a challenge. It's been something as we've tried to A/B test some things, look at some different avenues that we haven't before. It's been a little bit of a challenge.
Brady, a little bit of clarity here on this. So you say the snow melts, that's our biggest enemy. Like the sun comes out, sports hit, they're back out on the pitch. Are you saying that the challenge is a retention one, or is it a new enrollment one? In other words, your inquiry, the top of the funnel is changing radically when the sun comes out and the snow melts. Or can you clarify there?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a little bit of both. Yeah, retention. We have people that do leave during that time with these other sports, but and that does go up, and we work to battle that part. But certainly, what we find more of is that our sales they dip during this time, which is kind of interesting. At least here in Utah, every spring has been, we call this the Sahara Desert for a little bit. So it's been something where it's always May, it's like part of April, all of May, and maybe the first little part of June, and then it comes back. So it's maybe a total of 3 months, 2.5 months there where we're it's a little bit more of a fight to get those things. So
how are you counteracting this challenge, or what are you doing to solve it?
Yeah, so on the marketing side of things, what we decided to do this year was we were going to go all out with, we doubled our budgets and figured, hey, let's do this. Let's just do this for 2 months. Let's try something we haven't done before. So we've done traditional channels, SEO, Google ads. We're doing our Facebook ads and things right now, but we've never tried billboards, and being a little bit more of a regional company, we've done a bunch of billboards now. These digital billboards, they're pretty cool. We're doing some fun stuff where we're doing door hanger flyers, there's a company here that we've hired that sends guys out with GPS trackers, and they just do thousands of door hangers on people's doorsteps and stuff. So kind of cool. Occasionally you get a call from an angry HOA, but that's something you take that risk. We've tried some of that stuff and some new marketing stuff that we've never really tried before. We're doing some, different ads on with some of our like regional, here it's KSL, it's like our regional news channel and stuff. So some different stuff that we've never tried before. And for us, I love it because it's, what do we have to lose? It's every springtime for us has been harder than normal. And so why don't we do something different?
Cool. Let's go and jump to question 3. What's one lesson you've learned in the last year?
Yeah. This is something that I think I've struggled with always as a business owner. I think I could narrow it down to 2 things: listening more intently to our employees and managers, and then also being faster to make decisions. I think on the latter there, I've made the mistake many times or just a lot of stuff will pile up on my desk or on my plate. And sometimes just pushed it to the side or I've needed more time to think about it, or I just haven't taken the action necessary. I've noticed that when I make decisions faster, I might make a few more mistakes, but wow, does it really help us progress as a company? It really helps us get a lot farther ahead. And truly for our employees and our managers and things, they're relying on me. And I feel like I've let them down sometimes where I've just taken forever, or I've been slow to get back to them. So being quicker on making decisions and listening and more intently to what they're bringing up to us. So.
Yeah, I love that, Brady. I have something I do that I call the CEO Weekly Review. And one of the questions, it's just a self-assessment. And one of the questions I ask myself is, have I listened to everyone, all the stakeholders? And then the follow-up is, have I made a decision and moved forward? Dude, I have to read it, right? I have to read it every week to remind myself that this is the core, one of our foundational responsibilities as CEO is you got to make choices.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That's anything helping with that so far?
Yeah, I think similarly too. Yeah, we've kind of adopted a weekly meeting, and I used to just take all the information in, take a bunch of notes and be like, hey, I'll get back to you on this. And then come the next weekly meeting, I maybe addressed, half of the things and that were most important to me, but maybe not they weren't the most important to our employees. So I found, in that meeting, if I can make decisions right there and give them feedback right there, then it gets done that week. And it's not me that's wasting their time, on things.
That's huge, dude. That's like my death by Evernote. I have so many Evernotes that maybe are never going to get reviewed. I love that. That's like also I'm just reading Atomic Habits for the first time, and they have that great principle from Tiny Habits, which is like habit stacking. And you're doing that. You're saying, I'm going to take notes. I'm going to have a meeting, and I'm going to stack the habit of making a choice on the other side. Even if you made a bad choice, at least you're testing out what making a choice looks like.
Yeah. I was say I found this really cool software, if it's helpful for anybody. I think it's called Motion. And for me, with my ADD brain, sometimes I love it. During those meetings, it's an AI type of calendar system that schedules by priority different things. So I'll say, okay, make a decision on this. And I give myself 15 minutes maybe to think through it, look at things. But then I only have that window that I got to get a decision out, get something out. So little plug for them. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I dig it. I just ran across my dashboard too as a fellow ADD, like needing to stay focused.
They're just targeting music school owners.
Totally. All right. So moving on. Next question. What is one action, and maybe you just shared some cool actions, but I'm curious your thought on this one. What's one action a school owner could take right now that will make a difference?
Yeah, I know there's a kind of a varied audience here, but as I look back kind of on, from when we were smaller, maybe one location school to now, there's kind of been one consistent theme that I think anyone can do at any time. And that's find efficiencies in your business, find them and utilize them, because I totally, if you were to ask me today, hey, Brady, would you go back and start a music school? And maybe knowing what I know now, I might say yes, but man, those were hard years. They were hard years, from the beginning. You're doing it all on your own. I remember my wife, especially, just watching her, because I was working another job for a lot of it, but watching her, she would teach all afternoon into the evening, wake up the next morning, and it's like, oh, gotta do my billing, gotta call some people, gotta do some collections. This teacher's gonna be absent today. Just so much stuff. And there's so many things you can pinpoint on it, but really there's no time better than the present to find efficiencies for yourself, for your mental health and well-being, because that affects everybody, but also, man, you're going to need it to grow and to scale in any way, shape, or form. Find those efficiencies.
Can you give an example of an efficiency that's really helpful for you, maybe right now, and one that was helpful for you when you were first starting out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing that we've done in the last couple months here at the piano place was we used to be in a couple different softwares to manage it. And it's just kind of, as we've grown, we're like, oh, this would be a cool thing to add on. This would be a cool thing to add on. We made the decision internally, like, hey, maybe it doesn't make sense to be in 7 or 8 different softwares here. Can we consolidate it for, at least from for us, as we call our managers directors, for directors on down, can we consolidate it? So maybe they're in 2, maybe 3. And as soon as we did that, and I'm seeing the results of it kind of come in now, I can pinpoint that one change to making it so that our directors had way more time on their hands to focus on our teachers, to check in with teachers, to check in with our parents and students, and to be more available and more present. And I'm seeing it in our retention right now. That's definitely been better than it's ever been, year over year. I'm seeing it in their overall happiness. I think sometimes I feel bad about this. Sometimes our directors, I've put so much on their plates, and this is the first year I've been like, hey, our directors are killing it and they're happy. So we're obviously doing something right there, right now in this moment of time. So,
yeah. What's an efficiency that you implemented early on that you think is just a no-brainer that people should have, or one that would provide a lot of value for people, And I mean, there's obvious ones, like maybe shy away from those, maybe one that might be a little more uncommon.
Ooh, okay. Because I was going to say, well, I mean, this sounds stupid, but I took paper checks till we had, we had like 500 students, and I was taking paper checks and stamping them on the back. But that might be an obvious one. Switch to auto pay, right? It'll change your life. There's so many. I would say, oh yeah, what's a good one? I'll just say this, I think it's something that people are scared of maybe, and you might be crossing that point where you're like, hey, I'm maxed out. My load's too much for me right now. I cannot do this anymore. But also on the flip side, you're like, hey, it might be a lot to bring on an employee. How do I do this? I think taking that risk of, even if it's just a part-time employee, to help you in some part of your business. So for us, early on, we hired her. I'll give her a shout out, Jackie. She came on board, and I'll admit, I was fighting my wife saying, don't do this. We need the money. Don't stop doing that. We can do this. We can suffer. We can keep suffering more and more. Hiring Jackie, honestly, from where we were at that time, it 10x'd our business, because we were able to not be so spread thin and, focus on the marketing, focus on our sales, focus on getting back to everybody, just the little dumb things that are obvious for a business. By having somebody, and what Jackie was doing was she was awesome. She could be a Swiss Army knife for us, on some things. She was doing our payroll. She was taking, inbound customer service calls. She was helping, if a teacher was sick or something. So maybe those are both kind of obvious answers, but I think the fear of maybe hiring an employee, or that worry of we can't risk it. My advice would be, you're already risking it. You're in business. You're a business owner. risk it just a hair more and invest in somebody to help it so that you can actually 10x your business, you know.
What's one thing you've done for yourself, Brady? You seem like a happy guy. You seem like a joyful guy. So our listeners will love this. What's one thing you've done for yourself personally in the past year that has brought you more joy as an owner?
Yeah, this is funny. Started kind of happening during the pandemic as I started to like running a little bit, and it kind of progressed more and more. And I'm to the point where I can't function in a day unless I have my morning run. And I got to the point where I train for marathons all the time now. I'm doing that, but I find so much clarity when I wake up, early as the sun's rising, and going out and doing a run of any type. And what I find for me, it's kind of, it's a release of, I'm just kind of out there, and sometimes I wear headphones. Sometimes I don't, but, it's cool to have, there's so many cool thoughts and solutions that I've had, just being out there, just running and doing that. It's been an awesome, a super awesome thing for me.
You said you're training for marathons. There's a big leap between I started running and now I'm training for marathons. Tell me about that. Did you always consider yourself an athlete and now it's a new sport, or tell me about that transition?
Yeah, I played college football, but I was a D lineman. So just one of those guys, they just throw you on the line. I was not athletic enough to catch the ball, and I was too dumb to memorize plays. So they just said, go after the quarterback. So I played that. And so me as a runner, I'm a bigger guy. I'm like, it's funny when I enter these marathons, some of them have a Clydesdale division, and I've won a few Clydesdale division trophies for the bigger guys. So
nice.
Yeah. So I tell my wife, you're married to a pro athlete. So it's just been a cool escape. Sometimes you get so bogged down and you're so focused on your business, that it's, I think for anybody, having a hobby outside of business that can take your mind off of it makes you a better business owner, better employer, better husband, father, whatever you need in your life. You need those things. You need something outside of work for sure.
Do you find yourself questioning whether it's the best use of your time? I'm just curious.
Running?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even that free time,
Yeah. Oh, you're hitting it right. You're getting me right where it hurts there, Daniel. Right? No, I've definitely felt that way. I've totally. There's been times where, I've been like, okay, you got to get out and do this run, but there's also 10 things on the agenda today that there's probably no way you're going to get this done, and I've still found, if by putting myself first and being accountable to myself on that. And for me, that helps because I signed up for a marathon, so I'm not going to fail at that. I'm not going to go, do that. By just putting myself, making myself accountable and to myself and putting those things first, everything else comes into play. Everything falls into order. And, I think a trap for a lot of business owners is you think some things are just do or die, absolutely do or die. And I feel like maybe, I've only been in this business for a couple of years here, but that wisdom's starting to fall upon me where I'm like, okay, it's not do or die. At the end of the day, we just teach music lessons. I'm not running an ER unit or something, right? We just teach music lessons. It's going to be okay, right? We can, if I have to tackle this tomorrow, I can tackle it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a healthy perspective.
Brady, that was awesome. You crushed 5 for 5 there, Ace. I mean, honestly, I think that was Daniel, was that about 25 minutes?
We're pretty efficient. We did it in about 23 and a half.
Hey.
Wow. Who's keeping? Daniel may or may not be keeping score. Brady, there was really, really nice. And to close, you said a few things that I feel like are worthy of highlighting. Number one, you highlighted something that Daniel says often, which is you got to take care of yourself. You don't take care of yourself, you're never going to be able to take care of your team. Number two, you used some sort of corporate terminology like efficiencies within the business, which makes total sense. You came probably from an environment where that's the language. Our listeners generally don't use that language. But then you went in and gave like some really hyper-specific examples, which we so appreciate. So, I remember when I said no more paper checks. You sort of joke about it, but actually for a lot of our listeners, that's probably going to be one of the most profound takeaways, that you can actually transition your billing and to something like that. And yes, you'll lose some customers that insist on it, but you'll gain far more in time saved. So, and then the last piece, just circling back on what you opened with, which was staff. You were like, we take care of our people. Mm-hmm. And Daniel and I talk about this all the time, but we're in the people business. And while, because you're a fan of the podcast, but like, I actually take offense at the comment that we only teach music lessons. I actually think we are transforming people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you're a people person, and it clearly shows. You're investing in your people, whether it's by reducing the amount of tools that they have to use with software, or by showing up to a meeting and making choices. These are all the way I translate those stories, Brady, is you care about the people.
Yeah.
Right? And so I wanted to say that out loud and just thank you for, bringing it to the 5 for 5, because it's a beautiful story, and it's important for our listeners to hear it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.